Tens of thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes amid one of the worst storms to ever hit the Philippines. At its peak, Super Typhoon Haima packed winds as high as 315 kilometers an hour. Those winds managed to down power and communication lines, sweep away entire homes and bring air travel to a halt. There have been reports of casualties. 3 years ago, Super Typhoon Haiyan slammed through central Philippines, killing at least 6,000 people. Dean Barnado has more from Manila. Dean, what's the latest in those regions in the aftermath of Haina, and how extensive is the damage?
The issue here is isolation and accessibility. The biggest problem right now in those affected areas. The skies have relatively cleared in these affected areas as the typhoon moves into the South China Sea and heads to southern China. But the effects are lingering. Resources are limited since the typhoon last week has diminished much of the resources of the local governments in that area. A lot of down communication lines, power lines, trees, and a lot of areas are heavily flooded, which has given a lot of rescuers and relief people the problem of accessibility into these affected areas. Now, there are reports reaching the capital here in Manila that several of the relief or the evacuation centers were severely affected because most of the roofs were removed because of the strong winds brought by Haima. And we have received reports that they were observing winds, rains that were lateral, and it's extremely strong, something that they have never seen in their entire life.
And you mentioned the residents have been evacuated to these centers, but now if the centers themselves have also been affected, what are what are the main needs by the people affected?
Well, they still need a lot of food. The more important thing right now is water, because a lot of the water cisterns in those rural areas are considered to be dangerous for any human consumption as of this stage. Now, reaching them is also one of the problems. Right now, the Department of Social Welfare have called on volunteers to repack food, which is needed for them. Fortunately, the skies have cleared. There are less rains right now, but the damage is still there. A lot of people have lost much of their homes. Now, you have to remember, this is the rural areas, and a lot of the homes here are mostly light wood materials. So they're not certain whether they have any homes to come home to, even if they do evacuate or leave these so-called evacuation centers.
Now, how difficult will it be for organizations to actually get aid to the people affected, to get food, to get clean water to these people?
Well, the relief organizations coming from the Red Cross, from the government itself, has asked the people to have a little bit of patience, because what is starting just now, as soon as the skies have cleared, is to force their way through into these areas. There are mountains that isolate this valley. This is Cagayan Valley, and getting through them is not particularly easy. Some roads are the ones that are hindering the rescue and the relief, but more or less a day or so before they could actually reach those areas from here in Metro Manila. Now, they have resources in those areas, but some of the local government officials are saying it's only good for about 2 to 3 days. So we're going to be seeing about 2 to 3 days before any possible relief is reached in those areas.
And we're also getting reports of extensive power cuts, power shortages. And how long will it take for authorities to restore the minimum type of service, power and electricity, but also water, etc.?
Well, the power situation there is expected to be improved in the next 7 days, a minimum of 1 week, because if you're seeing the videos coming from those areas right now, most of the electrical lines are down, and they're still assessing the situation of those power man lines. These are the main circuits going to that area, so they're still checking that, but primarily trying to send power into homes is a problem. water is going to become a major problem because the floods are still there. From last week's rains, there are a lot of areas that are still flooded, and it will affect the water system in that area. So more or less a minimum of 1 week before anything could be returned into proper order.
Thank you very much, Dean Barnado, for that update from the Philippines.